we'll play Imperial 2030. This one is, you just imagine yourself to be something like those financial investors, George Soros kind of thing lah, or hedge fund managers behind the backs. And what you will do is use, or should I say manipulate, one of these major nations to do your bidding lah. So, and in the end fight to become the financial powerhouse of the world lah. As you can see here, there are 6 major nations from Russia, China, India, Brazil, US, and Eurozone. And you can see that, and from here I can tell you the turn order. We will start from Russia, followed by China, all the way to Eurozone. That's how the game will flow. Your main objective is, as you can see here, this is the so-called their power factor, the development level. What you want to do is push one of these nations up to level 25. The moment it hits here, the game will end. As long as one of the nations hit this, game ends. Okay, so maybe I'll go through with your things like how the points are being calculated. Okay, everyone should have started with some money, right? At the end of the game, every million you have in your personal funds is worth 1 point. The other things will be bonds, because the main thing we do in this game is we will be buying country bonds in order to fight and bid for control of a major nation. Okay, so
we start with 15 million, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so for example, this is what happens. Eurozone is the one that hits the top level and ends the game. Then US is just behind. So if let's say you may have something like this. For example, this is what you hold at the end of the game. So how we calculate the points would be, you look at the left side, the interest value. So if this is the amount of euros you hold, you just add everything up, multiply by the power factor. In this case will be 5. Then for the US, you will add them up and multiply by 4. So for this case, what you get is something like 10 times 5, 50, plus 10 times 4, 40, and whatever cash you have. Okay, so next thing is that of course you need to know how to fight for the control. For example, this is what you hold right now, and if let's say you want to take control of US, you will have to buy something that is worth more than what he holds. In this example, you can see here the value will be 2 plus 4, so what he has will be 6 million worth of US bonds. So you have to buy something more than 6. If let's say you only buy something worth 6, he still holds control. When you are level, the government control remains the same. You must have more in order to take over as a new government. Okay. And the next thing would be the key components, which is here the rondel itself, because this one actually tells you what are the things you can do in this game. Okay, so let's just start and we go through one by one. Okay, so you can see here the first one would be factory. Factory is quite straightforward. It just says that for example, the Eurozone wants to build a factory, they can build either one brown one or a cyan one. Brown one would be for army tanks, the cyan one would be for navy fleet. So that would cost you 5 million, or rather the country's treasury. You have to pay 5 million from here to the Swiss Central Bank to build this. So if let's say I want to build one for the naval fleet, I will just build this one and pay 5 million from the country's treasury.
So you are saying that the country's money and your own personal money is different?
Yes, they should be separate. Okay, so next we can go to production. Production would be that for every factory that is built, you can actually production, which means you can produce 1 tank or 1 fleet. For this cyan one produces 1 fleet, the brown one produces 1 tank. So in this particular case, we could produce something like 2 fleets and 1 tank. You can produce lesser, it's up to you, but the max you can go for this case would be 3 units. The next thing we have would be to maneuver. Maneuver would mean to move the units around the world in a bid to actually capture more tax regions, expand your influence, etc. So when you do that, right, you can just move. We will start with the ships moving out. After that, then you can start moving your tanks, and finally you will place your flags. So for example, we will just move the ships out, and the tanks wise, okay, if you are within the country itself, you are allowed to do a free movement to place your units before you start moving them out. So for example, I can just move this out. After you finish moving them out, right, you will place your flags to show that you have gained control of the following regions. If let's say the other side, we have ships coming out from here as well. Okay, so over here, if let's say the US ships comes out, they will have, because now you have 2 ships from different regions, so they will have to decide if they want to fight whoever is already here. Okay, if let's say US decides to fight Euro, each of them will lose their ships. The one, because the Euro side, they are the US side in this example is the active player. Active player gets to choose whether they want to fight or not. The other player cannot say don't want to fight. If let's say they don't want, then they will be like side by side.
Can the US player say fight and the Euro? No. Can the US player say don't fight, but the Euro player say fight?
That one would be when the Europe players turn to move to maneuver. Whoever is the active player doing maneuver can decide whether to fight or not. So if let's say they fight already, now you can see maybe now this region is unguarded. So if let's say after that US sends another ship in, they can simply take over because there are no more units to challenge them at the moment. And the next thing would be this. So if let's say the next turn we maneuver again, and for example I have a tank over here, what you can do is, if let's say you need to move across to here, yes, you can see some of these regions they have a orange line across. This means that you have to travel through sea. There are no lands adjacent to it. So for example, if I want to move someone down, a tank down to North Africa, I already have a ship which I placed in the previous maneuver. So now I can make use of this ship and send the tank down. However, one ship can only ferry 1 tank at any one time. If you want to ferry multiple tanks, you need to have multiple ships to do it. Okay, next wise would be this, the investor.
So wait, if you lose a region, does it become, do you lose control as well, or
you mean as in all the units there are killed off?
Yeah. So say before here you had it's like that, and then if it's killed off, does it stay?
Okay, the flag will stay until another unit comes into the region.
Yeah.
Okay, so after you move them down, okay, now we look at investor. What investor does is they will pay out the bonds based on the interest. They will pay out to all players who hold bonds of that country. So what they mean is that for this example, we are looking at Eurozone, and there is a total of 10 million. You can look at the interest payout amount. There is a total of 10 million that's being held by various players. So this over here, the treasury must have at least 10 million for you to take this move, because when you pay out interest, you are supposed to be able to pay out all bondholders.
If you don't have, then you pay out everybody first, then you
You-
don't pay yourself.
Yeah, so you may have to give up your own share if that is the case.
So if there's 9, so you only pay up for yourself.
Normally people won't pay out unless they can pay everyone. Okay, the next one we will look at is import. If let's say you find that production is too slow, you need a lot more armies or tanks to help you move and spread influence, what you can do is you can go to import. Import allows you to buy up to 3 units, be it tanks or fleets in any combination, but each one will cost you 1 million. Just now at production, right, as long as you have the factory, you can produce 1 unit for free. This one will cost you 1 million for each unit. You can produce anything between 1 to 3 in any combination.
1 million comes from the country's money?
The country's treasury.
Ah.
So that's how the import works. And just now we already went through production and maneuver. So next one will be taxation. Taxation will be the key to move the power factor, the development marker. Okay, if let's say right now we look at Eurozone, this is what you have. For every factory that is already built, you can collect 2 million worth of the tax revenue. For every flag you place, will allow you to collect 1 million of the tax revenue. So in this case, what they have is 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So Eurozone in total they will collect the tax of 10 million. Okay, and this 10 million will come from the Swiss Central Bank, which will pay to your country's treasury. And for this case, out of this 10 million, right, it's not guaranteed that you will get 10 million because you still need to subtract off the amount you use based on the number of units you have, because every tank and fleet you need to maintenance.
Oh, so you're saying it's revenue minus cost?
Yeah, and each tank and fleet you have will cost you 1 million to maintain them. So in this case, what would be the amount? 10 you minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So which means the central bank will only pay 5 million to Europe's treasury. And out of this 5 million, because you are the governor controlling it, you get 2 million as your bonus. And finally, you will move your country's development counter up by 3 for this particular case. Okay.
What does 2 million per unoccupied factory? What is my unoccupied factory?
Okay, that one wise means that these factories are actually governed by you. You do not have units or
Enemy units.
enemy units from other countries that come into disturb.
But your own units is fine lah.
Yeah,
Okay.
as long as there are no units or only your own units. So if let's say you have some US units over here, which means your factory production, all this, right, it will go down because now you don't get to count this anymore. So you will lose your revenue by 2. And if your factory is being invaded by other units, right, your this let me see, if they are invaded, you cannot tax, you can't produce from here also.
Can the enemy destroy your factory?
Okay, for that, right, what the enemy needs to do is, if they send 3 tanks into your region, they can destroy the factory. They will lose their tanks and you will lose your factory also.
Must be 3 tanks.
Yeah, to destroy a factory. If you send just 1 or 2, you can disturb them, then they cannot produce, they cannot tax and all that stuff. Okay, and yeah, more or less we have gone through all the different functions of this rondel. And there's also one more thing to note. Because as you know, we will be fighting for control and influence over the regions. If let's say due to some reason you do not control any nation, you are just a minor shareholder of some other regions. For example, this is what you have, and these 2 other players, they have this. So what happens is that you may have, based on the amount you have, you can see that the other 2 players have earned more than you. So they are the ones controlling US and Eurozone. And in this example, you don't control anything. So what you get is a Swiss banker. What a Swiss banker can do is that they can, when the country, the governor is moving the country to this
Rondell.
along the rondel, right? The Swiss banker can actually force this governor to stop at investor and pay out all the bondholders, provided the country's treasury has enough to pay all bondholders, and the governor cannot say no. The next thing would be that during the bid phase, this Swiss banker can buy bond from any nation. Okay, how the bid phase happens is like when you after you finish you select which action for the country to do. After you resolve the action, the country's bond markets will be open, and everyone will have one chance to buy a bond of
One
his
bond.
one bond of his choice. However, the rest of the players can only buy, in this example, buy from Eurozone. The Swiss banker can choose to buy bonds from any nation, as long as you can pay for it. Just pay into the treasury.
Can the Swiss banker upgrade the bond?
Okay, this one also can. All you need to do is just pay the difference. You return the smaller one and you swap the bigger one. So buying bonds, right, you can buy another one to add to your existing holdings, or you can upgrade your existing one. Switch a smaller one to a bigger one, just pay the difference. Okay, let me Okay, so one last thing would be this one. So we will go through an open bidding phase to determine who gets to control which country. And we are good to go after that.